Introducing Instagram Teen Accounts, a new way to keep your teens safer as they grow, like making sure they've got the right gear for riding.
Knee pads.
Check.
And helmet?
Done. See you, Dad.
New Instagram Teen Accounts, automatic protections for who can contact your teen and the content they can see.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Haidt in the newsroom, and of course, the Rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Souchere.
Nope, it's Reavers here in the Garage Logic podcast studios. The mayor is taking a well-deserved Friday off, and we are going to give you the best of Garage Logic, and I hope you will enjoy it. So anyway, without any further ado, I need to let you know about our friends at Aquaside. If you own a lake home or have a pond on your property, you got to get a hold of Aquaside. They've been helping people maintain nice lake shores for well over 60 years. They have a complete line of lake and pond control products that will take care of anything from weeds to algae. Aquaside products are easy to use and begin working right away. It's registered with both the EPA and the DNR, and their products are completely safe for you, your family, and of course the fish. So don't let weeds overtake your lake or pond this summer. Call Aquaside today. They'll help you identify your weed problem and make sure that your place looks great all summer long. Get a hold of them today at 1-800-328-9350 or just go to aquaside.com. Oddly enough, the mayor himself had to come in this morning to record a spot, and he had asked, "What are you going to play today?" And I was thinking on my drive in, you know, it'd be great to hear, because I personally really, really enjoyed the conversation, and I think that you will too. And the reason I found it interesting is because basically everything that they predicted when they were in this studio about a month and a half ago has happened, and it's completely come true. We were joined, I believe it was early April, by Representative Marion O'Neill and her fiancé, State Senator Jason Rarick. And I found the conversation fascinating, frightening, and disturbing all at the same time. And because, like I said, basically everything that they predicted has completely taken place in the legislature in the great state of, or what was once the great state of Minnesota. So I hope you enjoy the best of Garage Logic.
Something different to begin this show. We're joined in studio by Representative Marion O'Neill. And Jason, you're on State Senator, right?
Correct. State
Senator Jason Rarick. Marion was asked to come in because I've named you, Marion, whether you like it or not, the official legislator of Garage Logic, and I base that on this constituent newsletter you write. And you've asked Jason Rarick to join us because you're both GL legislators. And Marion and Jason, I guess our basic question is, things are insane right now. Do either of you have any hope for sanity? Marion, you go first.
Well, thank you for asking me on. I appreciate that. And part of the reason, I should say quickly, of why Senator Rarick is here is because we're soon to be married, and I got the email sitting at the dinner table with Jason.
Wait a minute. You two are about to be married?
We are. Breaking news.
For the, the fifth or sixth time, or what?
This would be the first time.
For both of you?
No.
Okay, well, one of you counts.
Well, way to make it awkward, Sue.
Well, I'm not. I was just, my curiosity was killing
Thanks
me.
for coming in.
Yeah, I'll see you later. No, congratulations. That's fantastic. You. That's fantastic. Where were we?
So you're sitting at the dinner table.
Oh, yeah. And you get an email.
I was sitting at the dinner table, got an email, and I was playing with him a little bit because I know who you are. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm not sure if this is a legitimate email. And I started reading it to him, and I said, Joe Souchere wants me on Garage Logic. I said, what do you think about that? And he just thought that was the greatest thing ever.
Because Jason, you've been a GLer for a while.
I have been a GLer since I've been in my early 20s.
And you represent what area of the state?
So between here and Duluth, so Pine County, Carleton County, some of Kennebec, and a little bit of Chisago and St. Louis.
And Marion, where are you representing? I know you're out Buffalo way.
I am. So I'm in Wright County. I have Buffalo, Monticello, and Maple Lake, and then 4 townships.
Being GLers, what's it like to go to work every day? Jason, you take over.
We look at each other every now and then and ask ourselves, why are we doing this job? It is very frustrating watching what's happening. We have a front row seat to it, and it's crazy.
What is happening?
Well, there are a number of proposals that are coming forward that are just not well thought out. And, that's one of the... I've become a much better legislator at being around Marion. She asks great questions, and as you saw by the newsletter, she digs in so deep and challenges the Democrats with what they're bringing forward. And many times they don't have answers for her questions, and that's what gets the most frustrating when you spot things that are not in the bills or they're wrong, and they just don't seem to care sometimes.
To an outsider, it seems as though the DFL is intending to spend just as much money as possible. Is that a safe observation, Marion?
It absolutely is. Not only are they spending the entire surplus, they are doubling down and raising taxes. A lot.
And there's really, being in the minority in all 3 levels of the government, there's really nothing you can do. Or is there? Help us understand that.
Well, I do have a little bit of hope.
Okay.
And because I'm in the trenches, because I push back, because I don't stop. And they know that. I will not stop asking questions. I won't stop digging until I'm satisfied. One legislator used to call it, I have to hit bedrock. I just keep going and going and going and going. And I'll say it on the floor. I'll say it in committee. I'll say it in multiple committees until I finally get an answer. So we've seen some incremental backing down of some of this stuff, but it's not much. They're going to spend the whole thing. The next budget is going to be $72 billion.
Oh, my God.
Exactly. $72 billion. That's the entire surplus plus more. And I have the tails target. So the tails is future spending. Not only are they spending the entire surplus and raising taxes, but they're going to spend $3 billion more than the projected revenue coming in the tails. So $5 billion is projected to come in. They're going to spend over $8 billion.
But this reflects them having no relationship or identification with at least half the Minnesotans in the state. They have no idea that we're buying groceries and taking kids to school and going to Menards and buying plywood and trying to save enough to maybe go up to the lake for a weekend. They don't seem in tune with many Minnesotans. I don't know where to take that. We call them Mysterians or Euphorians or people who live in liberal lakes, but they seem very detached from the reality of the lives that all of us, including you two apparently, as GLers, live.
Not only that, Joe, they're detached from simple budget matters. Who runs their household where Marion, you said $5 billion incoming and they're spending $8 billion. None of us live our lives that way. It's impossible.
It really is. And I'm sure it'll be fine. It'll be fine, right?
No, it won't. Well, I'm thinking of that meme based on that. The dog sitting at the coffee table and the entire house is on fire. And it's fine. It'll be fine. Yeah. That's what I envision's going on right now.
Well, here's the biggest problem. You've now added $17 billion to a budget that has to be fashioned every 2 years. That budget from here until eternity will have to be $17 billion more. We have to come up with that money now. That money should have been returned to the taxpayers, or at least most of it or some of it should have been. Walls, to me, you guys say what you want, but I cut Walls a lot of slack much to the dismay of my GL people here on the show. Early on during the because he didn't ask for a pandemic, and I was cutting him a lot of slack, and I've come to this conclusion that he's been the biggest disappointment as a governor of anyone in my lifetime, and I find him to be terribly weak of character, and I don't like his decision making, and he's been no help to bringing sanity back to the table. He's been no help. I don't know where you guys stand on that. Obviously. I'm not asking you to condemn the governor.
Why not?
I had great hopes for him at one point, but feel terribly disappointed.
Let me add to that, Joe. So we talked about this a lot during the campaign season and how basically, unless it was a stop within Hennepin County or within the metro, Walz wasn't interested in debating outstate Minnesota. Therefore, in my opinion, he doesn't give a damn about outstate Minnesota. And I just look at that as fact. He really doesn't.
Yeah, it would be hard to disagree with you on that. I think with both Governor Dayton and Governor Walz in their reelection, they determined that avoiding public contact was their best means of getting reelected. They didn't want to engage and have to answer for what they had done, and people did not hold them accountable. Part of that, when you look at the numbers. The Republicans many times we're told we're the party of the big money. We were outspent 10-1 in this last election cycle, and that's hard to overcome.
Jason, are you an electrician by trade?
I am.
And do you own an electrician business?
I'm a one-man electrical contractor.
You're a small business owner.
Correct.
And where were you raised?
In the Pine City area.
And how long have you been in office?
I've started my 9th year.
9th year, but you were a rep.
Yep, I was 4 years in the House, and now I'm starting my 5th year in the Senate.
Why do you want to do it?
I still believe there are things that we can do to make a difference. There are times where you help a constituent out with something that's happening at a state agency that they can't get done. And I do have hope that we can change things. This last election, there are 3 Senate seats that were so close. And I just hope that people are paying attention to what's happening. Abortion was the kind of the issue that was the main one. But I don't think a lot of people who believe that abortion should be legal in some sense believed they should have passed what they did almost immediately. And with all of the other things that they're voting on, I am very hopeful that the House can flip in 2 years and we can kind of stop the crazy. And then hopefully people will remember 4 years from now and we can start to rein it back in. But a lot of the things that the Democrats are going to put in place these next 2 years are going to be hard to unwind them. Yeah.
Marion, where are you from?
So I'm from Minnesota originally. I grew up actually near Bagley. So if you know where Bemidji is,
sure.
Way up north. I was in Clearwater County, so it was one of the poorest counties in the entire state. Also, a lot of Native Americans that lived in the neighborhood of where I was and around and surrounding me. So that's where I grew up. Went to Bemidji State. Then I left the state for 10 years. Many people do. I came back to work for Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge, and I had been working in the field of nonprofit about 7 years before that. And so I became their development director, and that's what brought me back to Minnesota, and I've been here ever since.
How long have you been in office?
So I am starting my 11th year. This is my 6th term.
Why are you doing it?
It's funny because the whole crazy road of how I got here is really crazy. But now Senator Bruce Anderson had kind of mentored me for 5 years and introduced me to the world of politics. I knew nothing about it, had no interest in it. I was happy raising my family. And he just kept inviting me and kind of enticing me. And so I got to see what it really was like. And then the Amy Koch thing happened. I don't know if you remember that.
Sure do.
Boy, do we.
Marion happened to be her legislative assistant when it happened.
Well, yes. So I've got all kinds of stories. But yes, so...
None of which you can share.
I only say one thing. As a woman in politics, she got a raw deal. There were ways to handle it, and it was handled, in my opinion, very poorly. But what that did is it opened up that Senate seat, and then Senator Bruce Anderson, then ran for that Senate seat, and he turned to me and he said, "Okay, I've been mentoring you for 5 years. Are you ready?" And I said, "No," because who's ready for this job? No one. You're not ready. If you think you're ready, you're not ready. So he said, "Well, it's either now or never." And I said, "Okay, well, let's do it." So once I'm in, I'm in. I'm 100% in. And so I used to call this my dream job. I'm not sure if I would call it that right now, but it is a passion of mine. It is something that is different every day. I love that. I love learning new things. I love helping constituents. And like you read in my newsletter, just being very short, blunt, and to the point with facts.
Well, you have a constituent who's a GLer named Paul Root, and he sent me a couple of your constituent updates, I guess you'd call this. And the only reason I was intrigued is that you're dealing with things that happen in everyday life. And it's making me curious to pursue some of the constituent newsletters from the other side. We're working on getting some of those. I won't go into it. But you are sticking to a life we can identify with. Both of you are sticking to a life we can identify with. Is there a temptation for you to get pulled away from that, to get pulled to the other side and just say, the hell with it, I'm going to join the majority here?
I have never had that thought in my entire life, and I'll tell you why. So as I drove here, I drove by Planned Parenthood, and I am unapologetically pro-life. And I got to tell you, the further the left goes, the further they get away from allowing anybody in their party that is pro-life. Even though I remember when Ryan Winkler said, "Hey, you should really join our side. We have pro-life Democrats too." Well, they have one left in the House. One. The rest of them were defeated in greater Minnesota. And I can say that because I saw his vote on the abortion bill. Now, I've never thought about it because the ideology is just so different from what I believe. I don't think government is the answer for everything. I think life is important. And I think our life and our liberties are really important. And I'm kind of a libertarian in that kind of sense. Our liberties are really important.
What do you both think of the rapidness with which the left has gone beyond recognition? In other words, they're not the DFL of 25 years ago or maybe even 10 years ago. What in God's name has happened to bring about this radicalization, to send them so far left that most of us, well, I guess not most of us because they got voted in, but I'm going to say most of us, most of us who listen to this show cannot identify with them. What brought on that rapid descent into a radical form of government that we don't recognize? Why are they getting away with it? Why is Minnesota earning a reputation for this?
I think it comes back down to outside money. I would encourage you to look at Bill Glon's Twitter feed.
All right, GLON?
GLAHN, I believe.
Yeah.
GLAHN, Kenny. Yep.
Bill Glon. And those of you out there that follow him on Twitter, you know he has done some deep dives. And you know there's a lot of dark money out there. I'll agree with the Democrats on that one. But from what he could gather, a good 50% of what he could see was outside of Minnesota money and in big, big dollar amounts that went to the DFL. So if you look at Republicans, we basically fundraise grassroots. It's $25 here, $50 there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now the Democrats are pulling in big donors.
What do those big donors want to achieve? What's the end game?
It's what you see happening.
Well, it's the destruction.
Dependence of people on government, I think, is the biggest thing because then they have control and they have power.
But I'll tell you where the money's going.
Please.
To me, what I see in looking at the budgets and the expenditures, and what I see is going to unions and going to nonprofits, and then those monies funnel back into the DFL. I see like Education Minnesota, and Senator Rarick is the Senate lead on on K-12 education.
And you got your work cut out for you.
This has been a steep learning curve. It is crazy. The formulas are confusing, and I think they want it that way, so you don't understand where the money is going and why.
All you have to do is look at who gave them the most money, and then who's getting the most money out of the budget as far as like Education Minnesota. You just follow. It's not very far to follow. You just follow the money trail, and you can see what the agenda is.
Well, the citizens of this state have been sold this nonsense for years that all education needs is more money. Well, no, that hasn't worked. But that continues to be the mantra. Can you stay with us for a moment?
Absolutely.
We're going to take a time out and go right to Kenny, aren't we?
Yeah, I want to talk about the fantastic weather we have coming up today and over the weekend, and especially next week. We're going to be seeing our lawns here pretty soon. And if you want the best lawn on the block, professionalturf.com. All GLers know that's the answer. But some of us might not know that they also do landscaping, and they do a pretty good job. ProTurf's landscaping division, they're going to work with you to design your landscape project. They do that with digital photography and then imaging software, so you can actually see how it's going to look before they even put a shovel in the ground. And they specialize in everything outdoors, everything landscaping, trees, shrubs, concrete pavers, patios, fire pits, ponds, streams, rock fountains, you name it. Professional Turf can do it. The best lawn in the neighborhood and an amazing outdoor environment. You can see it all at professionalturf.com.
We haven't had many roofers join us on Garage Logic, but Pete is with us from Hire a Pro, and he wants to explain to you how they do what they do.
Hey, Joe, in the end, I got tired of door knockers, and, the profits on residential roofing are obscene. I came up with a better way to get it done. At Hire a Pro, we help the homeowner get their roof replaced from their insurance proceeds so that they can earn what a roofing company normally would in profits instead.
Yeah, but I thought it works like this. The homeowner isn't supposed to make money on their insurance claim.
So let me ask you this. When it hails on the roof of somebody who owns a roofing company, do you think the insurance company is making them find another company to do the job?
No.
That's right. It's legal to make money on it, but it's illegal for a contractor to pay you for the job. Most people just don't know a crew. They don't know what materials to get. We take care of all of that for them so that they can earn like a roofing company would, replacing their own roof.
So look, if insurance has approved your roof replacement, give these guys a call at 651-402-3400. That's 651-402-3400, or visit them online at hirea.pro. That's hire, and then put the dot there, pro. We're joined by State Senator Jason Rarick and Minnesota Rep. Marion O'Neill, both of whom are GLers. And another thing occurs to me to wonder about, given the way the DFL has become something I don't recognize. Do you get along with them? Can you have civil conversations with them about normal things?
Yeah, let me chime in here too, because that's one of the main questions I had leading up to this. Is there negotiation? Is there two different sides sitting at a table talking the issues out and agreeing on what we're going to do going forward? Because our perspective is there's no negotiation at all.
Yeah.
So that's a two-part question, really. You had asked about kind of personal relationships. Mm-hmm. And ironically, I have really, really good relationships across the aisle. Mm-hmm. I do bills with them. I've literally, in this session alone, co-presented. So I'm sitting there with the Democrat author, and I'm the second author. For 4 different times, I sat at the testifier stand and presented bills with them.
That's great.
So I personally have a really good personal relationship on things that I can agree to. Now, here's the other thing that's happened is when I'm in committee and I'm asking all these really difficult questions that authors can't answer, chairs have begun to send me authors before they have a hearing and ask me if I have any concerns or questions. Basically, what am I going to say about their bill? Mm-hmm. There have been times where
it's an interview, like they want the questions ahead of time. Right?
It's a little bit like that, but I think they also want to make changes if they have to.
Okay.
So I see this push and pull. What I don't see is that at the leadership level. So I don't see like our minority lead, Lisa Damath, reaching across and having meetings with Long and Hortman. I don't think that's happening. I don't know if they're happening in the Senate, but they don't have to. They don't have to include us in anything.
Yeah, they run the show. Yeah.
They run the show. They have the trifecta. They can do whatever they want. Individual lawmakers have a different standard than that. Like the ones I work with. I work with Kelly Moeller. I work with Athena Hollins, with Kali Herr. You know, there's a whole host of them that I've worked with. Frank Hornstein, who is the chair of transportation. I was just on a bill with him to basically make sure that we're educating our kids about the Holocaust, because we're not. And that's abhorrent to me. So, you know, where I can find common ground, I always do, and I'm always sought out. I have more requests than I could possibly fulfill for my time and being on bills and all of that. But personally, yes, structurally, the governor, honestly, is running the show, if you really want to know. That's what I see. I see the governor making a lot of decisions, and his budget bills are the budget bills that we entered into the record at the House, and then the chairs kind of tweak it. That's what I see.
You're dealing with a lot of people who believe men can have babies. They can't, so where does the conversation go from there, I wonder? These people are nuts as far as I'm concerned.
I was going to say, there has been a change that's been happening. You know, I think most everyone that Representative O'Neill talked about are people who have been there a while. What we're seeing are a number of activists who are becoming involved and now getting elected. And instead of coming with the idea that they're here to manage a state budget, work on issues for all Minnesotans, they're coming with agendas. And it is very hard to have those conversations and build those relationships with folks like that, because they will not engage with you when they've only got one or two issues and they are so dead set on them. And they are opposed to what we believe in.
Well, you got a clown that got elected named Lee Finke, who came there for only one reason: to advance transgender. If a street light went out, that's not in his world. He's only there for transgender. You mentioned Kali Herr. I think she's completely nuts. She is. The irony is that she has diminished the role of women in society by insisting that it's not a big deal if transgender guys compete in sports, because most women aren't going to advance to professional sports anyway. Well, we took her apart one show. That's just. Again, these are people. You guys have more patience, obviously, than I do.
Joe would last about 10 seconds.
I couldn't last 30 seconds. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it, clinging to the sense of normalcy and reality that you have, and we see normalcy and reality being redefined every day, and I couldn't accept it. My hat's off to you. Yes, Kenny.
And I have a question along those lines for both Jason and Marion. And I'm going to paraphrase the governor some time ago said, we will not be a safe haven for extremist agendas. That's paraphrasing him. But it appears to me, and I'm asking you, do you think we have done just that for leftist extremism?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Great. It depends on which side you're on, whether they mean that or not. And, and I do believe, like I said, we've got extremists on both sides that have gotten very, very active, and that's kind of where that battle is happening. And I will say, Republicans we're held to a different standard. We will say something or one of our members will say something that's a bit controversial, and it's blasted out there day after day. And if a Democrat says something controversial, it's supported, and they're not held to that same. They're not held accountable for their statements that are just as crazy. You can have a Democrat, I'm big into the energy sector as well. And, you've got the group out there that believes the earth is doomed to die in, less than 12 years now. But nobody calls them out on that. Right. Nobody challenges them on that in the general media. And then the average person never hears about that and doesn't think that, well, you're just nuts.
Jason, are we down to 9 years by now, though?
No, I was going to say it's under 12 years.
We don't have a
when
lot
do
of
they
time
start
left.
the 12 years? They've said that number for so long.
And Jason, as a GLer, Such has been doing that for years, and he is continually labeled as a climate denier, which is a ludicrous designation.
My short position is the climate has always changed and always will. I'm just now worried that you driving your minivan is causing it.
Right.
Marion, you seem very circumspect. Are you afraid of offending people? Do you have to really watch everything you say? Are there people that you need to get things done and you're very careful in what you say?
Well, I don't know that I'm careful in what I'm saying. I'm very blunt and to the point. I don't go out of my way to tear somebody down. Okay. I guess I have this philosophy. So I work with, like you said, Kaliher, with Kelly Moeller, Frank Hornstein, on things I can agree on. Like with Kaliher, you'd mentioned Kaliher specifically. So she and I work together to end child marriage in Minnesota. I see that as a good thing. I think children shouldn't be married.
I'll go with that.
Particularly to 40-year-old men, which is what was happening in her community.
Never works out.
Oh, boy.
It's basically legal rape, statutory rape. I mean, whatever you want to define it as. But where I can find common ground, I will. I'll, with Representative Fink makes me feel uncomfortable. And I think...
I call him Finky. Maybe you're pronouncing it correctly.
I think it's Fink.
All right.
But maybe I'm wrong.
There's a fighting chance you're pronouncing it more correctly.
We're always wrong when it comes to pronunciation.
Just as an aside, but I don't think it's off topic. I don't mean to interrupt you, but we're pursuing how it was that Lee got 80% of the vote in a district I'm terribly familiar with in St. Paul, long-time blue-collar district. I know many of the people who grew up there. And he ran against a Republican who was nothing but common sense. And Lee got 80% of the vote, and we're going to attempt to get to the bottom of that. Not to get to the bottom of it, he won. Well, we're going to do a deep dive on that and find out what has happened that a guy like that would get 80% of the vote when the alternative was somebody who seemingly was more representative of that district. So that's just an aside. 80% of the vote, and he's there for one reason. Now, you say he makes you uncomfortable.
Yes.
Why?
Yeah.
Well,
other than that, he's got really bad hair.
So Representative Fink, in my opinion, as I watched Representative Fink in a debate with Mary Franzen, didn't know the bill. To me, if you're going to be the spokesperson for transgender, you ought to know something about it.
Right.
That's offensive to me.
I couldn't agree more.
That's just simply it. I've not had a conversation with Representative Fink. If it happens, it happens.
But you guys both went through the John Thompson era. There's not a possibility in hell he knew anything about a bill.
He doesn't.
Whatever you tell me, I won't believe it.
Sure. Well, the thing is John Thompson agreed with us on a lot of things. And, for example, on education, he worked in the public school district. He had insights. He was shut down. His party didn't want to hear what he had to say. Was he provocative and did he get in the news a lot? He sure did. He also was with us on the whole Second Amendment debate. I know. Shocker, right? Because he wants the ability to defend himself when he needed to.
And he needs to.
Well, he lives in a pretty rough place, and he has a rough life, and so I actually found common ground with John Thompson.
My God, we're going to be bringing John back.
I have a question.
Thompson.
Thompson,
Who fired the siren? I want to know who fired the siren.
That was so good.
Yeah.
Don't tell him. We don't want to know.
I think that actually happened. I was there when it happened. It came across his...
No, that was a plant.
Oh, was it a plant?
Yeah,
okay, well, there you go.
Joe, why'd you ruin the bit? You ruined the bit.
Well, it works either way. It works either way.
Well, I've been in so many committees with him and, different venues. He had all kinds of crazy background noise, so it wouldn't have surprised me.
You mentioned being uncomfortable. Was that the right word? With Fink, with
Representative Fink. Because he doesn't know what he's doing.
But that led me down that path, Joe. How many people then are being outspoken, are voting on these bills that have no worldly idea what they're even voting for? What percentage would you place on that?
Well, Nancy Pelosi said we have to read the bill to find out what's in it. Or we have to pass the bill to find out what's in it. I don't think that's limited to the state government. I think the Fed's got 1,000-page bills that nobody reads.
But is that happening too? I mean, is it just blindly, yep, let's go here. We're on this particular team, so we have to vote for this particular bill. You're both shaking your head, yes.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely happens. It definitely happens. And maybe that's why I kind of stand out, because I read the bills, I read the nonpartisan summaries, I read partisan summaries, I read through the fiscal notes, and I really make a big deal if they don't follow procedures correctly, which they haven't been. If they don't have fiscal notes and committees where you're going to talk about the fiscal impacts, I have a problem with that. So I might be one of a handful of people that do the work you all think that we should be doing. And that's on both sides.
Thank you.
So you're like Joe at the newspaper. You read the tuna fish recipes.
I do, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that's pretty distressing that you know the bill better than Fink. You could actually argue his side or her side, whatever, for her, right? Even though obviously you wouldn't, but that's alarming.
No, there's something more insidious than that. Marion knows the bill.
Yeah.
He doesn't, and his side's going to win.
That's shocking. Yeah.
Well,
that's alarming.
And I can tell you on the abortion debate, that really stands out in my mind. So when we dug, I mean, you don't have to read a lot. It's like a one-page bill, maybe a page and a half. It's not a big bill. But when you actually read the bill and understand the implications of the words on the paper, which I find also problematic, people don't understand what words mean.
Well, right.
Boy,
it's true. I mean, I'm just, I'm blunt to the point, and that's it. So when we were doing the abortion debate on the PRO Act, I think it was missed on the vast majority of Democrats that voted for the bill blindly, that they now have, by passing it, House, Senate, and Governor signed it, have made it that any person at any age, any child at any age, has the right to all reproductive care, including, and they specifically spelled it out, sterilization.
Oh my God.
Oh.
They didn't know that was in the bill. And I can tell you how I know is because I was sitting there in the debate, and the first Republican got up to say, so at what age could a child demand to be sterilized? Is it 9? Mm-hmm. And their eyes looked up and their mouths fell open. And I instantly knew, only a handful of them knew that was the way it was written.
Who wrote that word? Who wrote sterilization?
I don't know.
Well, who authored the bill?
Well, I can't remember. I don't remember off the top of my head who wrote it.
Right.
It was such a long debate that so many people got up to speak. But
it was put there for a specific reason.
Oh, absolutely. And it said any age, so any child's age, without parental consent. Without parental consent. It's unbelievable. It's unfathomable to me.
Among the many things that I don't understand is what I appear to see as an attack on children. I don't understand that. I don't get it. Do you?
I don't get it, other than if you indoctrinate them young, you got them, which you see with generations have grown
And I
up.
firmly believe that as well. Yes,
I think
I'm in line with that.
It started with a breakdown of the family. Allow welfare programs such made it easy for fathers to not be a part of a child's life. They could be taken care of anyway. And the attack has just continued down the line to where, now we're after the kids.
But being taken care of as a child is so much more than a monetary amount. A physical presence is so much more worthy than money is.
Absolutely.
Do you both accept your role as Garage Logic legislators?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Dang it! I thought you were going to say no.
Do I need to get the gavel?
Well, sure. Why not?
Well, it's in the other room, so I'll just do this.
I tell you what. No, go get it while Kenny gives us another shot.
I actually have a question.
Sure.
Keep your headphones on, for both Marion and Jason. What's the end game with this allowing kids from other states to come into our state and have sex changes and whatnot? I don't understand the final end game there. Some kid that cannot, as we know, when you're a kid, even a teenager, you don't know what the hell is going on, even though you think you do. What are we doing here? What's the end game?
Well, again, this comes back to money. And all you have to do is look at who donated to Representative Fink's campaign and see how much Representative Fink raised.
A lot of outside money.
Primarily outside money. So there is a strong agenda. So all you have to do is follow the money again. And there is a strong movement that has money that wants us to be this sanctuary state. And one thing I would say about that bill that's even more disturbing is that it isn't a parent bringing a child here.
Right.
You saw that? So it's any concerned adult.
Yeah. And
Now-
the parent, as far as, I'm sorry to interrupt, as far as I know, the parent of that child can't get that kid back. Is that in fact true? Can't come here and say, that's my kid, I'm taking him home to Iowa, Ohio, wherever.
Well, that is the question. That's the legal question, which is why that bill is probably unconstitutional, and it's stuck in the Senate. So here's our hope with that horrible bill. It's a terrible bill. That every person listening to this right now will get on their computers, on their phones, and call and email the Democrat senators, and Senator Rarick can give you a couple of specific people, and tell them don't vote for this bill. This is, will be a shining light on a hill for the absolute wrong reason. It's going to be a beacon for all things horrible.
You're right.
Who should they contact, Jason?
There were 3 that were in very close races. Senator Seeberger, she's down in the Hastings, St. Paul Park area.
All right.
She's was 321 votes was all the for that seat. So I think she understands kind of the pressure that some of these far left crazy ideas. I believe she could be swayed. Senator Kupek, he's from up in the Moorhead area.
How do you spell that one?
Kupec.
Okay.
And let's see. Well, then Hochschild, he's up in Senate District 3. I have a little less faith that he can be swayed, but still, that was another very close race there. And who was the other one that you had that?
It was the Putnam.
Oh, yeah. So Senator Putnam out of the St. Cloud area, he was in a very narrow race.
Will these people, in fact, though, because I have little faith that they will these people, in fact, listen to the people that call in, the people that email in, the people that have concerns and voice their thoughts?
I believe that they can. I know in those districts and a couple of others with the paid family leave that is coming forward in that bill, a lot of business groups and others targeted those districts and ran a lot of ads, and we have seen that bill stop in the Senate.
Well, that bill requires another tax also.
Yeah. And I think the gun control bills, there's been pressure put on those and a couple of others, and we've seen those kind of stall out through the committee process in the Senate. So there is hope that there are some of the things, and the second abortion bill, that's stalled out. And I believe it's because it takes one Democrat senator to say, I can't vote for that, and it stops.
Good.
So that is the one hope that we have, that if people pay attention. I think that's part of the reason the Democrats move so fast with a number of these things, was so people wouldn't find out and they wouldn't have the time.
I agree with you completely.
To get a hold of these senators. So if people can keep paying attention and get a hold of some of those folks, there is a chance.
Jason, that's assuming they vote their conscience and not just the party line. That's what my fear is.
Yeah, that's been a big part. I think there's a lot of pressure on them to vote party line. Those first bills that came through, you saw that. But I do believe there are some of them as well. They also see the political landscape, those close seats. If they're, there are some people, they want to be able to hang on to that seat. And if the people in their districts especially start raising concerns, hopefully that is that final piece that really makes them say, I can't do this.
But we're barely over 4 months into this regime change here in the state of Minnesota. Are you too terrified of where in God's name we're going 6 months from now? Because I certainly am.
they didn't have a lot of time to prepare. They had, what we've seen move forward are things over the last 4 years are things that the House had voted on, and they had it in place. In the Senate, when the Republicans had the majority, we stopped those things there. Those things came up very quickly this year. But this summer, when they've got time to really sit back and think, well, what can we do next session before we potentially lose the power? It is scary to think about what could be coming next year.
I'm not foghorning that.
No.
That's proper use.
Why don't I get the gavel and Kenny can...
Yeah, I actually want to talk about...
We got so much more to get to here. Unless if you guys got time, you guys are good on time?
We can stay.
We got time.
I want to talk about a company in Representative Marion O'Neill's district, Monticello. Up in Monticello, if you ride dirt bikes, if you ride trail bikes, then you probably know all about the mix of models that KTM, Husqvarna, and Gas offers. Moon Motorsports in Monticello, that's the place to go. 52 years and counting in Monticello, family owned the whole time. They carry the KTMs, the Huskies, the Gas. They're one of the biggest dealerships, and they're offering major savings right now. And for you folks that love the quads, the four-wheelers, the side-by-sides, Moon just received another big shipment of all of our favorite Can-Am, I can say it really.
You're okay.
Can-Am off-road machines. You know what? Instead of listening to me babble on, drop in on the website, moonmotorsports.com. That's where you'll see it all. You'll also see that Moon Motorsports is our Can-Am, Polaris, Skidoo, Honda, Yamaha, Dirt Trail, and Adventure motorcycle brand leaders. moonmotorsports.com. They're in Monticello.
Not a Garage Logic town council member? Here's what you're missing.
Is that a German phrase, John? Holy Schneike.
No, isn't it a Chris Farley saying?
No, but there was
I don't think he was German.
15 years ago, there was a charming piece on the news of the reporting of a tornado out in west central Minnesota. And they interviewed a little 10-year-old and his grandma, and he was saying, holy Schneike's, Grandma.
You're kidding.
Maybe he got it from Chris Farley. I don't know.
Everything I'm seeing here says it's a polite version of
the S word.
Yeah.
Holy
that's all it says, yeah. Yeah.
Joe violated it first today.
Go behind the scenes of Garage Logic with unfiltered audio and video access, invites to exclusive events, an emailed newsletter from the mayor himself, and more by signing up at garagelogic.com.
This is the well-worn gavel.
I'm surprised it's still in one
of the office of the mayor of Garage Logic, and let it be herefore to thou art, announced therefore thou art, that Representative,
yeah,
kind of, it's Good Friday. Representative Marion O'Neill of District 29B and State Senator Jason Rarick, is it 11B?
11,
are hereby acknowledged as official legislative representatives of Garage Logic. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye.
Here, harumph, harumph.
Harumph, harumph. So congratulations. You have our warmest personal regards as your emolument.
You've also scared the living you-know-what out of us.
There is no great funding coming your way, but you have our best wishes, and God bless you for the work you got cut out ahead of you. I just don't know how to hang on another year.
I want to follow up on something you said just a minute ago, because when you were speaking at first about being in this for the right reasons, and I believe, Jason, you basically said the same thing. We've often brought this up that there are a number of really qualified people to be out there to hold these types of positions and these types of seats, but simply just don't want to deal with all of the extra BS that goes along with the job about the finding out everything personal and things of that nature. Is that the case? There's just a lot of people out there that would do it, but just really don't want to deal with the nonsense.
Well, we look at each other all the time and say, why do we do this job again?
Right.
It is, it's not an 8-hour-a-day job. It's 14 hours a day. And I joke with people in my district. They're like, oh, you're in the interim. You must be on vacation. I'm like, well, if doing only 8 hours a day is vacation, then yes. Because I take it so seriously, and that's why I know the stuff that I know, because I go and do tours. I talk to people. I learn all interim. I work 8 hours a day during interim. He and I work at least 14 hours a day in session.
Yeah, because you read the bills. No wonder it takes you 14 hours.
And I always feel like I'm not prepared. Right, Jason?
She was studying for about 3 hours last night to prepare to come here to talk to you about everything. That's all the notes.
She's done more work preparing for this show in one day.
Well, okay, so what notes do you have that we haven't covered yet?
Oh my goodness, I have so many notes.
Yeah, let's get to
We got time.
Yeah.
You got time?
Go
Okay.
ahead.
Well, I wanted to bring in a perspective of budget pre-pandemic.
All right.
Okay?
Yep.
And something else we didn't talk about with budget. So I think one thing that we need to look at is when we talk about budget, like the $72 billion, that's only general fund money. That's not all the funds. That's not your gas taxes. That's not your fees for fishing licenses and park entries and all that kind of stuff. It is none of that. In fact,
not
the
federal
courts,
money either.
And it's not federal money. And when I looked back at pre-pandemic, because I thought that would be a good kind of point in time, because honestly, during the pandemic, you can't look at that for anything, to be honest, because we had billions and billions of federal dollars coming in for the pandemic. I don't even know.
Well, we
the
had to
number.
feed kids.
And a lot of them fraudulently stolen. Yeah.
I tell you, I've been watching that too. But just in perspective, the all funds, so federal fees, anything that's not considered a state tax. So there's 3 buckets for state tax, right? So you've got income tax, sales tax, and corporate tax. That's your 3 buckets, okay? So these are things that don't lie within that. And we had an $89 billion all funds budget. So that's really what state government was spending pre-pandemic. Now, right. And so the general fund budget was only $48 billion only, right? Now we're talking about a $72 billion all fund, general fund budget. I don't even know what the all fund budget is. It's because we're just like in the beginning process of all of the budget work. So some of it is in flux, but it's insane. Do you know that the governor has already signed into law $1.6 billion of spending before budget targets even came out? Now, if you understand anything about the legislature, you know that is utterly ridiculous and offensive, quite honestly, in my opinion, that they would spend that much money without even having joint targets. But nonetheless, that's where it's at. And let's just talk just ever so briefly about the transportation bill.
All right.
Okay?
Yep.
Now, I love Frank Hornstein. He is a very kind, compassionate, good guy. But he wrote a horrible bill. Well, I should probably say the governor probably wrote it because I think it's really the governor's bill. But the transportation bill of general fund money spends about $1.3 billion. Normally, general fund money for transportation is around maybe 3.5 or $350 million. This is $1 billion above that in general fund money. And he's also raising $3.5 billion in new taxes that will stay. So that's gas taxes, that's sales taxes for the metro. So you got car tabs, everything. Oh yeah, and the 75-cent delivery fee.
Correct.
So for every single delivery to your house, Amazon, Uber Eats, whatever, it's a 75-cent charge to the state for absolutely nothing other than they feel like it.
This is the first time I've heard that. Wow.
I have so much here.
Go ahead. I'm aware of this, and ostensibly this is the money to pave a road.
So they say.
I'm going to Animal House. Don't interrupt her. She's rolling.
Well, that's the HUTDF. The gas tax is supposed to go to roads, but MnDOT uses it for administration because they claim it's helping them build roads.
Well, you need a new diversity director.
Well, there is that. Yeah. But also, a lot of this money goes to transit. So the potholes will probably still be there.
Did you see that nice one we got over here? It's pretty nice, isn't it?
I hit a few on the way here.
I thought I was going to lose an axle.
You need a ramp to drive in them and then back out of them.
Right.
Axle breakers.
Yep.
It's just terrible. Oh, yeah, and then I forgot to tell you this one. Do you know about this one? So $194 million for a train to Duluth. To Duluth. Who's going to go to Duluth on a train? I just want to know.
I'm not. I did that. Been there and done that.
Well, once you get there, what are you going to do?
Have lunch. Come on back.
Rob a few people and then
throw rocks in the lake and skip stones.
11 years ago now, when I was on the transportation committee as a freshman, I beat that thing to death because I love it when testifiers come up and they say a bunch of BS that's not real. So I just kept hammering and hammering and hammering and hammering. This is 10 years ago. And I said, now, does anybody in Duluth work in Minneapolis, St. Paul? Well, no. Okay. So if people are going to go vacation up on the North Shore, once they get to Duluth, then what do? Are they going to rent a car? Well, no, because they're going to bring their kayak and they're going to bring their tent. And right, that's what you do up there.
Right.
You're going to recreate outside somewhere. Oh. So it finally came down to, after going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, that they wanted this train so that college students from the metro could ride it up to go to UMD.
No.
That's all they said. They couldn't come up with anything else.
There's no practical reason to have it.
We don't need the train.
Well, and that's why we've been so outspoken about Southwest Light Rail. It was basically designed to appeal to somebody like me that at the time I was living in that. I'm not taking that here. It's going to take me 4 hours to get to work. It's not practical. It makes no sense. It's not designed for anybody.
Right. And by the way, there is a bus if you really want to go, and you'll get there faster.
Sure.
Beside the point.
Right.
We also used to have passenger rail from Duluth to Minneapolis, Amtrak. They couldn't make it go, so they closed it down. They closed the line. But that was 10 years ago. So now they're back again because they have the trifecta. And they're going to spend, now I'm sure this is way underestimated, $194 million in this bill, the transportation bill, to do a train to Duluth.
Well, this gets us back to what we started with. None of this makes sense. It's sense that we're trying to recover, common sense. None of this makes sense. It's just whimsical spending to grow the government. It has nothing to do with reality.
The thing, I have hope with the transportation bill because it's not an emotional issue. I think that you might be able to find a couple odd Democrats that will agree with you, Marion. I really do. At least that's my hope. Fiscally wise Democrats that will go against the mantra or the Democratic agenda, if you will.
Yeah, I really hope so. I think the only hope is in the Senate. I hear in the House all the time. Of course, we've been in the minority now for 5 years, and we hear all the time, well, we don't have enough money for roads and bridges. I've heard it since, for 11 years. And that there's a structural deficit.
Isn't that why we pay taxes?
One would think. But the gas tax revenue apparently is shrinking. Of course, they're going to fix that, right?
Okay. Why is it shrinking? Let's just delve into that for a second. Why is that shrinking?
Cars are more fuel efficient today, so you're not using quite as much gas, and then some with the hybrids and the electric vehicles.
And then what's going to happen when they're successful in shoving these electric cars down our throats? It's going to go down even more, which means our taxes are going to go up even more.
Yeah, right.
Well, we've proposed, we as in Republicans have proposed, I don't know, a tax on electric vehicles. And they're like, oh, my gosh, we can't do that. We need to electrify everything. Climate change, the world's going to come to an end. But here, back to climate change really quickly. So when we ask them in committee, can you quantify, science, they like science. Can you quantify the amount of carbon emissions that will be reduced if we do absolutely everything that you want to do?
Yeah.
Global carbon emissions. They won't answer the question.
Well, they can't.
They don't have a number.
It's not relevant.
No, they have no
answer.
No.
Right.
And on the whole climate thing, too, I found another gem. So I'm on the Climate Energy Committee.
Oh, boy.
Thank God.
They don't like me in there too much.
Good.
I bet.
So Representative Bierman brought a bill, and he did come and talk to me on the House floor before the bill was going to be presented. Before he presented it, and I was already neck deep in like everything I had to do for that day, and I hadn't prepared for the next day yet. And I said, well, I just simply haven't really delved deep into this. But here's what happened in the middle of committee. It was just unbelievable. You have to watch the tape. So he brings this bill about weatherization for homes. So, like, I have a 1904 house. I could use a little weatherization myself. Okay.
Yeah,
so for poor
absolutely.
people, you take out vermiculite insulation, you replace it, you replace windows. So basic stuff to try to increase the efficiency of your house. But then he said, but I have this bill about pre-weatherization. Now, can you just venture a guess as to what pre-weatherization might mean? There's actually a statutory definition, but
I have no idea.
I know. I can't think of.
Well, we started talking about that in committee. And so we had the Department of Commerce come up. And it caught my ear. So another testifier said, oh, this would be so great. He's one of these outside nonprofits that give money to people so that they can weatherize their house. And he goes, sometimes I go into a house and it's just hoarded and I can't do the work I need to do because of the hoard. Mm-hmm. And I went, so I said, what? What do you mean? So I asked the Department of Commerce, is this pre-weatherization going to pay for removing someone's hoard so you could do windows?
No, it can't be. No.
Oh, yes, it is.
Oh,
yes, it is. And it doesn't stop there, guys.
House cleaning.
dumpster rental. Yeah.
Yep. All the prep work so that you can come in and do the weatherization.
Yeah. So if you need new floors, if you need a new roof,
I can get you a roof.
basically, literally anything you can think of.
Wow.
That needs repair. And this is the best part. So guess how much money they stuck into the omnibus bill for this pre-weatherization. And they defended it in committee, by the way, because the deputy commissioner was like, no, we really need to do this. We keep walking away from these poor people and we don't fix their houses. And
we have to dehoard them first.
Dehoard them, change flooring, roof. I mean, anything that could be tangentially connected to being able to do weather.
3.9 mil.
Oh, no, not 3.9 million. How about 45 million?
Oh my God.
Oh, and I'm not done. I'm not done. 45 million.
She's warming up, folks.
Oh, my God.
You pressed the wrong button, evidently.
45 million in this fiscal. Okay. So in the first year of the biennium and the second year of the biennium, 45 million. And that's going to sit there until they spend it all, and they have 10 years to spend it. Okay. Now that's not enough. 45 million is not enough.
But wait, there's more.
They also are going to put money in the base. So in 2027, so that's the second year of the next tails, they're going to put 3 million more. So they are going to put 45 million, and now they're going to do 3 million in the base moving forward.
So we don't even know if it works yet, but we're going to continue to add to it regardless.
And there's more.
Oh my God.
So the Department of Commerce needs lots of people to be able to give out $45 million.
Got to hire new people, don't you?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So they put in the budget bill $5 million and $5 million. So $10 million for the Department of Commerce in the next biennium so that they can give out $45 million. And we're still not done. Wait till you get to this part, okay? So this money is distributed already through community action agencies. I have one in my district. It's Wright County Community Action. That's not the problem. The problem is that 10% of all the money appropriated, the utilities can use it for their existing programs. So I don't have a problem with that necessarily, but the next part I do. Another 10%, so $4.5 million to recruit and train energy auditors and installers, and to give them financial incentives to install.
Oh my God.
You're describing a dystopian hell.
You really are. You really are.
This is just one bill.
One bill.
That's just one. And there's repeated bills.
And this kind of stuff is going on with every bill.
It's all baked in. Now, who do you suppose the installers are? And who do you suppose owns them? And who do you suppose they give money to?
Their friends.
Right.
Oh.
Exactly.
Just guessing.
Follow the money. Like
this was a really good idea, having you two come in and all.
No, I'm getting ill.
I know. You're about to be thrown out. No,
This is very upsetting. This is amazing.
It's worse than I thought.
Well, yeah. dystopian hell. That's a home run, Joe. Yeah.
We appreciate you having us in, because this is exactly, we've said over and over, how do we let people know about this? They have to know. And, just social media isn't enough to get the message out. So I can't tell you how much we appreciate
I know we
this.
I know we got to go, but I want to ask this.
We don't have to go.
Well, but you hit on something. You mentioned sanctuary state, that the end game is to basically turn us into a sanctuary state. Does that then, in the minds of some, equal vote buying? Is that basically what it amounts to? Both of you can answer however you want.
I would say yes. And that gets back to how can somebody get 80%. And, I think in some of the Minneapolis districts, Democrats got over 90%.
Right.
And it's just this idea that, the Democrats are the ones looking out for your best interest and Republicans aren't. And I think, you guys talk about it here all the time. And
it's just a lie.
So many Minnesotans believe, right, it is that ability to give someone training so they can get a career is far better for someone than to give them put them on a government program. But so many people who are coming into this state and into this country, they have just been led to believe that it's the Democrats who are looking out for them, yet they fail to look at the history. These major cities, Minneapolis and St. Paul included, have been run by Democrats for 50 plus years, and they haven't solved anything.
They're all disintegrating.
It's getting progressively worse.
Correct.
Yeah.
We've been pretty tough here in the last few years on the Republican Party here in Minnesota. And Marion, you turned me on to Bill Glan. And he has a tweet here from April 6th that's pretty shocking, and it pretty much describes what's wrong with Republicans. And it reads, many Republicans didn't vote for Republican candidates and because of, say, they didn't like the cut of his jib, he was not their type of Republican, or something they heard on TV. Democrats vote for Democrats, period.
Yep.
No matter how awful that candidate might be, if it's a Democrat, they vote for him.
Yeah, that's something we battle quite a bit. We're hard on ourselves within the party.
We really are.
Well, it's because you have standards.
Yeah,
God forbid.
We challenge each other. Now we have, there are groups that have gone kind of far right, and they love to throw out the term rhino. And say, we have to get rid of the rhinos. I would ask them right now, point blank, wouldn't you like to have one or two more rhinos in the Senate?
Yeah,
sure
they
would.
They may not vote exactly like you want, but they sure wouldn't be voting for what we're getting right now.
No, but as a party, the party has abandoned the core cities, as far as I'm concerned. It's just abandoned them. Look, go back to Finke.
Yep.
The guy who ran against him was a Republican.
A gay Republican.
He checked that box. He had everything going for him.
Yeah.
He got no help. They
don't even try. Yeah.
Right. No, and there are a number of Republicans. I've been trying, as an electrician, and I've served on the Jobs Committee. It has driven me crazy, this idea, the mantra that you hear in our schools, you got to go to college, you got to go to college. There are so many other opportunities out there, and I see that urban core as that area where that workforce can really come from if they just get that understanding, if they can get that training. Right. And I have asked repeatedly for people to help me get in front of kids in the inner city so I can spread that message, and they just I can't make that connection. Right. I can't get in there, and I think that's one of the big struggles we have. Republicans, we have so few people there that affiliate with us. We don't have the connections to get in and start building that bridge. That's something that we have to figure out, because we can't win a statewide race when, like you said, 80-90% within that area are all voting Democrat.
Right. Wow. Why don't we make a bargain to have you come in again?
I'd love it.
Both of you.
I can't be sent home feeling this way. Can either one of you two give us something to give us some hope?
Call Patrick and tell him we'll get to him.
I've already been in. Yeah.
Give us something to hang our hat on, something to look forward to. Give us hope, Marion, please.
Yeah.
Jason.
So what I would say is look at what has been stopped and how. So the really bad, there's bad gun bills, but there were some really horrendous gun bills. And what happened is about 81 of our sheriffs across Minnesota did a letter and they sent it to the speaker, I believe, and we're on record saying that these are terrible bills. These will actually harm people and put people in danger. And they rallied together. So, that's just one example. There's others. If you look at the paid family leave, you had mentioned that earlier. So paid family leave. Now, I know that all of the business groups got out and the Chamber of Commerce members and business owners, they began to really make a big noise about it. But also our school districts.
City and county officials, because it gets them all.
It gets them all. So they're all like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, that's going to cost us millions of dollars. So I feel like where the power is in the voice of the people. We can only say so much. And God bless mainstream media, and I'm sitting here in the KTIS 5 building.
No. KSTP.
Sorry. I'm starting to fade out.
That's the other show Joe moonlights at.
So we're sitting here in a mainstream media building, and mainstream media don't always tell our story.
Oh, no, of course not.
Come on. So I just want the full story to be told. So the stuff I told you, you could read in the bill yourself. No one's going to do that.
No.
It just isn't out there. So we need to amplify our voices. But when the people get enraged and speak out and come to the Capitol, once in a while you could actually come to the Capitol and let people know what's going on, that you don't like it or whatever. That's really where the power is, because the Democrats are really, really good at that. Like, our halls are full of people all the time. In fact, so much so that I just block it out. I'm like, oh, yeah, somebody else is here. Because there's just so many. But there's very few conservative groups that do that.
But another, a ray of hope is the one seat majority that the Democrats have in the Senate. And getting messages to the Senate Democrats for opposition is the way to stop some of this.
Does he get a ray of hope for that, Joe?
Yes.
Okay.
Is calling and writing your representatives, your local representatives and senators, that doesn't work, does it? Come on, be truthful.
It might work with the likes of Marion and Jason.
But I was trying to prove a point and saying something. Yeah, I'm wrong, right? It is helpful, right?
Absolutely. There are some who will not listen, and we know some who refuse to take meetings, but it's very few. Getting word in, whether it's phone call, email, legislators get that.
They've got to be reminded that they work for us, which you two seem to understand.
Well, we really try. We really, really try.
Well, thank you.
I think contacting the leadership, so Hortman and Long, and Carrie Dietzig, although she's recovering from cancer surgery. But look at the website for the legislature and see who's the leadership, who are the committee chairs, and if they're, even the ag bill is terrible.
Right.
The ag bill raises $20 more million in fees, and that's going to go straight into the cost of food. Absolutely.
And they've already done enough to hurt farmers and whoever else. It's just,
it's going to be passed straight on to the consumer. There's probably $4 billion, I haven't added it up yet, but easily $4 billion of increased taxes and fees that will be passed on directly to those that can afford it the least.
Right.
This is one of the most regressive budgets I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Oh, back there's supposed to be a ray of hope. So the point is, those that are listening need to voice, because it has worked in the past. They need to call the leadership of the House and the Senate. They need to call committee chairs. And I tell you, when their phone lines light up, they notice.
Okay.
Thank you both.
And can I throw in a tip? Be nice when you call or email.
Right.
Don't be crude. Don't be loud. Don't use foul language. Be nice.
Don't do it the same way when you email the show in all caps.
Yeah,
right. Don't do that.
Don't do what I would do, okay? Do the opposite.
All right, you've established the precedent. We'll have to have you both back in. We will want to have you both back in.
we'll
All right,
love
State
to be
Senator
here.
Jason Rarick and Representative Marion O'Neill. Why don't you take a break or go to Kenny and
Kenny's
going to
take us to break.
Oh,
Yeah.
I am?
Yes, you are.
Well,
Because you have so many fulfilling messages, Kenny, throughout the course of a Garage Logic podcast. And as I sit here and tap dance while you can scroll through your...
keep talking.
Oh, my God. Well, maybe we could have Marion go through whatever she didn't get to on her notebook.
No, I've got something
I'm
right
kidding,
here.
I'm
It's
kidding.
Maple Grove Lock and Safe up in Maple Grove. Their sale is running. Let me check the calendar till next Wednesday, April 12th. And we're having a sale, saving up to $400 on select Colonial, the Bronze Colonial, Fat Boy Jr., and Centurion safes. And like I said, April 12th, the deadline for this. You know all about the Liberty safes. We've been preaching about them for years, made right here in the USA. Full transferable lifetime warranties, best fire protection in the business. And you hook up with Rich, and he's going to get that thing into your home wherever you want it. Professional delivery and installation is available. Make sure you ask Rich about that. Check out the website, maplegrovelockandsafe.com. If you're old school, you like to pick up the phone, that's cool. 763-494-9075. Rich is at 6901 East Fish Lake Road. Remember the big sale on the Liberty Colonial, Fat Boy Jr., and Centurion safes runs through April 12th. maplegrovelockandsafe.com.
Boy, got home from baseball late last night, and it is officially mosquito season. I was pulling all the gear into my garage, and I thought, you know what? I better make that call and get my friends from Mosquito Shield out to my place sooner rather than later. And if you've already used Mosquito Shield, then you know. Here's the deal. They're owned and operated by GLers, a couple of great guys. It's Ray and Mike. They are a father and son team that own and operate 2 franchises right here in the Twin Cities. And the brains behind the operation is Kelsey, the GM, and she's going to be the one that you talk to when you call in to book your service. Their territory runs east of 169 and 35W all the way to the St. Croix, north to Forest Lake, and south to Lakeville. Getting rid of mosquitoes and ticks, well, that's their expertise. They're not like other pest control or lawn care companies that also spray for bugs. They focus on the mosquitoes and the ticks only. And that's important because they use a proprietary blend that is specifically formulated to rid your yard of mosquitoes and ticks. It was invented by the founder of Mosquito Shield and is used exclusively by the company. You can't go buy this stuff on the shelf. They're going to take great care of you. I'm a proud customer of Mosquito Shield for years, and it makes an amazing difference. So here's the deal. You can find them online at moshield.com. That's moshield.com. And you just enter in your zip code and you're going to find them. Or give Kelsey and Mike a call directly at 612-619-1556. That's 612-619-1556. And you mention GL and you're going to get $50 off your service. moshield.com. Tell them you heard them here on the Garage Logic podcast.
Trying to hear the song. It's opening day.
Yes, it is, sir. And the sun has now come out, nice and blue, and it's going to hit 50 degrees. And then it's just going to get warmer and warmer here in Paradise. What are they talking 70s next week? Holy cow.
Yeah.
Isn't that great? Yeah, I might get the top down, baby. I'll let you. I'll call in and make an official announcement when the top's down.
A Ricey Walk is in store.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. I'm going to go all the way around the block.
Can I tell you? That I did pick in a family pool? I did pick Brooks Koepka.
Well, now you are really got to have a quandary here because you can either win your pool and be lauded for picking Koepka here on the airwaves on Thursday. But you'll end up rooting for a live scumbag, too, which is a really kind of a controversy there. So you got to root for one of those SOBs.
My pick is distinct from live, but I have thoughts about live, and I'm wondering how much money the royal family offered any live player who could pull this off. I bet it's extraordinary.
Oh, right. It's a bonus. I bet
Right.
it is. I bet it is. I bet the Augusta prize money won't be the entirety of what he collects.
No. And I think if a live player wins, it's going to be just one hell of a kerfuffle.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think it's going to automatically. Some more people might watch, but not that many.
Well, I think it's interesting as hell.
He's the only one on the board, right? That was, I mean, in the top 20 or so, he's the only one that. If it turned into a live shootout, that might be something. But when that guy, that guy's made for overpowering that golf course, so he should, when he's hitting it straight. He's got a chance, that's for sure.
And he's healthy.
A little bit.
He's healthy.
Finally.
Yeah.
And I wonder, plus, if you watch that thing on Netflix, his mental issues might have gotten over too. Maybe he went to a therapist or something.
Mm-hmm.
His lack of self-confidence was amazing. But
he won last week on a live event, and I think what ails him was cured by winning.
Yes, maybe that's it. So I still have hope for my guy Cameron Young, who
I picked him too. I picked him.
Mm-hmm.
We were not allowed to pick any of the top 5 players in the world, but we could then pick any 6 players we wanted. And how we win it is their total scores get added up every day.
Well, you should have allowed people to pick Rory because he can't putt, so he's not a contender there. He'll never win. He'll never win at Augusta.
I don't think so either, to tell you the truth.
Not a good enough putter.
Yeah.
It's a putting contest there, basically, with all. Now, they might not end till Monday, huh?
Yeah, I haven't been able to see anything today, but I guess weather was rolling in this afternoon.
Yes, no wind. Yesterday, no wind, so they put up the big score.
Reavers, it is a major. You're allowed to have it on.
I was just waiting for the go-ahead, the thumbs
ESPN.
up. All right, I'll go put it on right now.
Yeah.
High temperatures Saturday and Sunday, 51 and 59. It'll be warmer here than it is in Augusta.
Wow.
Yeah, so...
and meanwhile, at the ballpark, it's going to be balmy.
Oh, it'll be nice. Yeah, it'll be good. We're waiting here for the drama to unfold. I don't know which hat they're going to wear yet. They're new hats, so I don't know if they're going to wear the M with the star or just the old TC. I wish they'd make up their minds here.
It is a controversy, yeah.
It is very dramatic. This new scoreboard here, it's not any bigger footprint, but they got rid of the sideboard, so it is quite a screen, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
If, for instance, if they show kisses in the stands, everybody better have their hands in the right place because you'll be able to see what the heck's going on. If anybody's got a hand under a blouse or anything, you're going to be able to see blouse.
Capture the wayward hand.
Yeah, that's right. Keep everything above the waist, pal.
I saw a video like that somewhere.
Yes,
where
you did.
They were on Kiss Cam, and he gave her the old honk honk.
It was the Orioles preseason or spring training game, Kenny. I saw the same exact video.
Well, quite a few things have been captured.
Yeah. You can't trust the youth of America anymore. That's for sure.
Meanwhile, they get a close-up on one of us four, and it's just us scratching ourselves somewhere.
Gophers and Quinnipiac for the title.
Did you get home to watch the Gophers yesterday?
Yes.
My, were they good.
Boy, were they ever.
First period, they should have been ahead 4-0, and then they got out of there only ahead, 2-1?
Yeah.
Or 1-1. And then second period, they weren't very good for 10, 12 minutes, but the third period, man, they were flying.
I believe Quinnipiac is a private school.
I think it is.
It is. I looked it up.
It's in Connecticut.
Yep, right near New Haven, not far from Yale, and it's the third campus they've had. They didn't start playing hockey until the late 70s, and that was Division III. They didn't become Division I until 1998.
Oh boy!
When they formed this league that's got all these other mutts in it, Merrimack and. Those schools like that the New England schools they basically formed their own league, and they've been the weakest of the leagues. But Quinnipiac's been a power now for a few years, and Merrimack has been okay in some of those schools, but they don't have quite the rich tradition of the Gophers, that's for sure. You know what was the shock to me though? Johnny Manistich was there. He gave up Thursday night curling in Chaska to be there.
Wow.
That is the ultimate sacrifice.
Quinnipiac is noted in political circles for its polling. You're always citing some Quinnipiac poll.
There's several colleges that do this, but they are the most famous and very accurate, according to at least whatever that thing is, and that's now at the New York Times. Right. What's that called? Whatever.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Kenny, did you have something?
Yeah, a question about all these goals they took away yesterday, Royce. What tape are these jackasses looking at? One of them was clearly in the net.
The first one they took away was in the net.
Before it was scooped out.
But Nice did blocking. Nice was a big step into the crease, and I knew that one was coming back. But the other one was a goal. It was over the line.
Yeah.
The guy's covering it with his glove over the line. That's a pretty good sign.
But one of the angles clearly showed that puck.
Yeah, it was on its side past the. It was on its side beyond the line. I don't know why they didn't give.
What the hell are they looking at?
I don't know. I don't know, but
my TV almost got thrown out the window. I was so mad.
We would have heard a little complaining if somehow the Gophers had lost that one 3-2, but. I think they will win, but then again, I thought Michigan had beat Quinnipiac too. So who knows? It's hockey; it's random, But I think they'll win. They are really good.
What is Quinnipiac? Is it an Indian name?
Yes, it is. It is it's named for a tribe that existed there, and I don't know if they're on the land of it when they moved, or I don't know what it is. But
is it a religious school?
No,
I don't think so.
It doesn't say that. It just says it's a private liberal arts school. It was started in. I looked it up. It was started as an alternative to some other school there. I'm not sure what it was. So anyway, and and there used to be a women's college. Larson College used to be associated with a women's college.
Huh. So, well, it'll be a fun game.
Yes, it will. What do you think of the speed up rules, boys? I say it's the greatest thing since Jackie Robinson.
I thought I would be complaining, but I'm not. I think it's fantastic.
I hate it.
Okay, Kenny doesn't like it.
Absolutely.
Royce, you did have a great line. The last game in Miami took 220? Said, what the hell's taking so long?
It makes me so anxious. And what is this doing to advertisers? Now I see less avails. I don't like any part of it. It makes
the advertising is still the same between innings. It's just that the people who are going to be dying are the ones selling products in the ballpark. You go stand in line to get a beer for 15 minutes, you might miss an inning and a half.
So speaking of that, Pat, I was in St. Louis for the Cards versus Blue Jays on Saturday. And my buddy and I went to go get one in the 7th, and the guy said, well, I'll sell it to you, but the 7th is already over. And we said, wait, what the hell are you talking about? We just got down here. Yeah. But he said, we'll still let it go because you stood in line before the 7th was over.
Yeah, well, the Twins have now switched to the 8th. You can get it.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Through the 8th. But we're campaigning and I'm campaigning in honor of my beer drinking friends, that if you're in, it should be like the election. If you're in line when at 8:00,
the election,
you get the vote, right? It's like voting. If you're in line, in the beer line, and when the game ends, you get the drink.
You get a beer. That's right.
Here.
Because why not leave the gates open an extra 30 minutes from what you used to. Just let them die.
Pat, will this be sold out?
I don't think. No, they have not bragged about it being sold out. And I know my grandkid and his dad are coming. And they got tickets this morning, so it's not a problem.
Who's hurling for the Twins?
Sonny Gray and I'm not sure who's pitching for Houston. I haven't looked it up yet. But this is not the Houston club that won the World Series last year. They don't have Altuve. They're missing a couple other guys. And this is the bottom of their lineup isn't as potent.
Where'd Altuve end up?
He's hurt.
He got hurt in the World Baseball Classic, broke his hand. He got hit with a pitch.
We're hearing that Kaprizov might be back tomorrow.
Yeah, he's supposed to play Monday.
Or Monday, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe sooner, yeah. Because the other guy, Nyquist, is playing. The Swede we haven't seen yet is playing. But Eck better not be hurt.
Yeah, I'm wondering about Ecker. What happened there? Lower body. Was it his ankle or something?
Well, he got hit with a puck, but he should be okay.
Yeah, that's nothing.
I'm surprised he didn't come back.
Yeah, well,
it went through his leg, but they'll patch that up.
I think they knew they were going. I think they knew they were dead ass and were going to lose the game anyway. So they just figured, what the hell, let him rest. So anyway,
well, have a great ball game, and we'll rehash everything Monday.
Yeah, well, don't turn it on after 5. You won't miss it. You won't hear any of it.
No, I know. I got to hurry up.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Using Seafoam motor treatment in your fuel gives you one less thing to worry about this summer. A lot of people might not realize that most preventable engine problems start right in the fuel system. Seafoam cleans harmful gum and varnish from the entire fuel system. That helps your engine run better, start faster, and last a lot longer. Seafoam works that same magic on all of your engines, no matter what kind it is. Seafoam is the ticket. You can find it everywhere, and the true believers, we keep an extra can in the car. Truly a wonderful product in a world of bad gas. Seafoam.
Today is Friday. TGTI Friday. It's the scramble.
No danger of an opener.
Maybe next week,
46 degrees. Could be next week. We had quite a show today, and we thank Marion O'Neill and Jason. Rarick. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I got so many papers.
You don't get your notes in front of you.
But we had plans. We extended an invitation to Mary Moriality. Mm-hmm. I know that's not how her name's pronounced. Some emailer wanted me. There's no L in there. Hey, pal.
Thanks.
It's a play on words.
Thanks.
Get it? Anyway, she's downstairs filming an ad issue with Tom Hauser. And we asked to have her come up, and you learned what?
Well, I went down, and our guy, Ryan Perpich, now works on the news desk downstairs for Channel 5. And I walked down there. He said, "Hey, Reeves, what the hell are you doing down here?" And I said, "Well, Souchere said that Moriarty's coming on, and I didn't know what show she was going to be on." He said, "Oh, yeah, she's filming that issue." And I said, "With Tom?" He said, No. Tom's getting his .2 down in Tampa watching the hockey. So it's Eric, I believe, Shalou is his name.
Oh, okay.
So, but it is for ad issue. The only thing is that they were taping it right at 1:00. And so I said, "Well, you could, if you would, could you extend the invitation to come up here and record with us?" When he's done, he laughed. He goes, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Basically saying I'm because Ryan's a GLer, but he just said, "Sure, I'll do that."
Well, something happened that we didn't think would happen. The governor has taken the murder case away from Mary Moriality and given it to Keith Ellison.
Wow.
I've never been more delighted to be wrong in my life.
It's amazing to watch these euphorians stumble over each other.
That's what they're doing.
They don't know what to do. Walz has appointed Ellison to take over a high-profile murder case from Mary Moriarty. It's an unusual step, but the backlash has been so public. It's the murder of the woman named Zariah McKeever, a 15-year-old, executed her, fired, 4 or 5 bullets point blank into her head. And Mary Moriality said, these kids don't have their brains figured out yet. She arranged or was going to arrange to have him serve 2 years of in a butterfly situation, and then probation. And the outrage was so significant that at first Ellison couldn't ignore it, even though he campaigned mightily and endorsed Mary Moriarty for her run for Hennepin County Attorney. And then the governor couldn't ignore it. And what this woman essentially has done, and I'll blame her, she's really introduced a mess here. She has created one hell of a mess, because now every case she gets will be looked at. The public will take a stronger and stronger view of her inadequacies and her incompetence and her corrosive and corrupted ideology. And now, God only knows how many cases might have to be taken from her once you've opened the floodgates.
But I hate to be this guy. Isn't that a good thing?
Well, but not really, because you're really threatening with the way life works. The voters did vote her in. She's their Hennepin County attorney. This is what they voted for.
Okay.
Few of them obviously knew they were getting a crackpot like this. And now the governor...
But how? But I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm disagreeing with that philosophy. How did you not know that when that is exactly what she ran on?
Well, to her credit, she campaigned to do this. And then the first thing that she stumbles across is a 15-year-old thug who assassinated a woman, remorselessly, point blank, killed a woman, and she was going to treat him as a juvenile. He's now 16. And the rumbling was of such a nature that at first Ellison couldn't ignore it, and then the governor couldn't ignore it. And the next thing you know, the governor's saying, Keith, you got to take this. And then they're all trying to keep Mary from pouting because she's their friend. So you've really got a mess here on
Wait
your
a minute,
hands.
then. Is that why she agreed to this?
I don't know what she's saying today to the KSTP cameras.
What's great is, by the way, GLers, Marion recommended that we follow Bill Glan on Twitter, Glahn.
Yeah.
And he briefly covered this by retweeting a guy named Walker Orenstein, who says in October, AG Keith Ellison criticized the idea of taking cases from a county attorney. Mm-hmm. So really, really interesting. And by the way, a really good follow, GLers.
He's a fellow with the Center of the American Experiment.
Yeah, pretty smart guy.
Marion O'Neill brought him up.
Yep.
And I think and he's a GLer. He follows us.
Yeah, he does.
And we'll make ourselves familiar with this fellow. I would like to have him get to the bottom of who was the outside money behind Lee Finke. Because it's clear, and we even know more now from talking to Marion O'Neill, that Lee Finke doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground and doesn't even know what he's doing there because he didn't even know the bill that was being discussed.
His own.
Yeah.
Share with, because I don't know if Kenny heard this, but
his own bill. You're right, his own bill.
Share with Kenny, because I'm not sure he heard this. Well, after we had wrapped up with them, tell the GLers what you told those two before they left. You said, we could have sat here for 9 hours doing this, which led me to the thought of, we just spent an hour with those two in here talking about basically one legislative session, right? Mm-hmm. What the hell is going on all over the land?
Well, when I said it's a dystopian hell, what occurs to me that it has gotten away from the taxpayer. They are leading their own lives up there and spending money they don't have, and it's gotten completely out of hand. And you have good souls like Marion and
Jason
hanging in there by their fingernails, trying to put their thumbs in the dike, and they're struggling.
One of my notes that we didn't get to, the whole third rail concept. Mm-hmm. I'd love to hear their opinion on that.
Oh, they'll be back. Don't worry, they'll be back.
Good.
In any event, Mary Moriarty has had that case taken from her. I'm glad, but I also will acknowledge it's a horrendous precedent. A horrendous precedent, because voters can now legitimately say, well, geez, I'm voting for a Hennepin County attorney to represent me and prosecute cases, but how do I know if the governor won't like that and just take the case away? So it's a real problem.
You know what it is, Joe?
It's a real problem because she's so out there and so far gone on the left that somehow she had to be reined in.
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope.
only because they come to us on Good Friday all the way from Marloth Park in Mpumalanga, South Africa, from the traveling Lymans at Worldwide Waftage. It was on this day,
Joe, today is April 7th.
in 1846 that the St. Paul Post Office was established in Henry Jackson's store. I'm going to go out on a limb here and bet that's why Jackson Street is named Jackson Street.
There you go.
Yeah. On this day in 1866,
4-7.
in Washington, D.C., the Boy Fort Ojibwe signed a treaty ceding their lands in St. Louis and Koochiching counties and establishing the Nett Lake Reservation.
Nice.
And on this day in 1924,
April 7th.
a warrant was issued for the arrest of Joe Friedman, operator of the Tower Theater in St. Paul, where he had shown clips of the Dempsey-Gibbons boxing match. Tommy Gibbons, a St. Paulite who later became Ramsey County Sheriff, went 15 rounds with heavyweight champion Jack Dempsey in Montana on July 4, 1923. Because boxing was illegal in some states at that time, interstate shipment of such pictures was outlawed, and Friedman was charged with receiving and exhibiting fight films in violation of federal law.
Wow.
Yeah. And Tommy, of course, was longtime sheriff
Okay.
in Ramsey County. He was, I think, was he succeeded by Kermit Hedman? But Kermit was my favorite because he would always report a Grand Day parade for the Winter Carnival as having attracted 500,000 people.
Big giant, we don't know that.
Even though there was about 300.
12 there.
Yeah.
Kermit said, so what, 400,000 or 500,000 we're going to report.
You want to see something fun, Kenny and GL town council members? We're going to end. We are starting today. We are ending the show in kind of a new format.
I didn't know that.
I know you didn't. I wanted to spring it on you. So we'll see you later.
Goodbye. That's it?
DK Mags has a full stock of the best, the latest, and most modern firearms and ammunition in stock. DK Mags can also take special orders on specialty items, or those hard-to-source items. You know what I mean. Hop on the website, dkmags.com, start shopping. But if you don't see it on the website, you've got to call in or stop into the shop on Old 8 in New Brighton. They've got a really good on-site gunsmith staff and solid outside resources for those really difficult gunsmithing issues. And they have the buying power of a much larger business. But when you stroll in, it's a small-town local feel, and that's one of the reasons I love them. You'll love them if you're new to firearms and considering your first purchase. That's the place to go. That's where I went. The staff, very accommodating. Fair pricing, quality firearms, and a great staff at DK Mags. Old 8 in New Brighton, and on the web, dkmags.com.
Hey, GLers, thanks so much for tuning in to this Garage Logic podcast. And don't forget, if you haven't done so already, don't forget to subscribe to the Garage Logic YouTube channel, because there we, and by we I mostly mean Ross, is posting daily content for your amusement. You can also follow us along on all of our social media channels, which of course includes Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And Ross, what am I forgetting? PodMN. Yeah, sure, why not? Go ahead and PodMN it for all of us. And hey, the Garage Logic Town Council is still there for you. $10 a month or $100 a year. And right now, if you sign up for the Garage Logic Town Council, well, the first month is on Fratelloni. Yeah, $10 gift card for you just for signing up for the Garage Logic Town Council to any one of your Fratelloni hardware and garden stores. Happy Easter. Have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you again on Monday.